Well, it's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Doug Jensen, the chair of Citizen Science. And as Melanie was indicating, we have a lot of projects, and virtually all of them have an impact regarding heat and fire in the preserve. And before I get into that, however, I would like to contextualize what we do in citizen science. So, first of all, who are we? And secondly, how do we undertake our work? And thirdly, what projects do we sustain? Here is a typical definition of citizen science. There are many, many governmental, academic, and nonprofit organizations that are involved with citizen science. The definition from the National Geographic Society says citizen science is the practice of public participation and collaboration in scientific research to increase scientific knowledge. Basically, it's utilizing non-professionally trained individuals to participate in the scientific process. And in the 1990s, this really became a movement, an identified movement recognized by the tag of citizen science with the growing academic literature and the creation of national organizations to promote it. But here in the Conservancy, we definitely are unique as citizen scientists, and we're also unique in the world of citizen science. So in the Conservancy, we are one of 9 Conservancy programs. 5 of those programs will be represented on the panel toward the end of the symposium that deals with how other programs in the Conservancy are getting involved with heat and fire in the preserve. At this time, during the past year ended April 30, 296 citizen scientists contributed in our program. They contributed a total of over 13,000 hours, which worked out to 46 hours per citizen science, which is quite remarkable because that was the top level of participation in the preserve, because actually there were other programs in the preserve that have more active stewards than we have and that contribute more hours than we do. But we tend year in and year out to lead the Conservancy in average hours per steward contributed. We support the Parsons Field Institute. We're here in this symposium as their guests. They are the entity that houses the professional scientists within the preserve. And so we're unique in the preserve in that in the Conservancy, in that we are the only program that permanently supports another established separate entity in the Conservancy. And that also makes us unique in citizen science. The vast majority of citizen science projects, I'm talking 95% or more, are basically short-term projects where citizens crowdsource data and provide it to some remote researcher. But in this citizen science program, we have an ongoing partnership with professional scientists that goes on as the research is conducted. And the essence of that partnership is sustaining the 9 research projects, many of which Melanie was just discussing. And that is something else that makes us unique in the world of citizen science, because we are part of an intentional program that monitors biodiversity on a long-term basis throughout an entire ecosystem. Looking further at our work and how unique we are, we pursue a model of citizen science that is regarded generally as collaborative, which means citizen scientists are involved in the work from beginning to end. So we help identify the research issue, we help create the approach, the research design, we gather data, we help analyze it, and eventually we're involved in the publication of the results of that work. At this time, 70 of our approximately 300 citizen scientists are certified. That means they have engaged in an extra process of education and participation and passed an exam so that they have a higher level of expertise. And in a collaborative program, it is extremely important to have that extra level of expertise. And we have a great need for leadership in the program. When you look at the program and the project level, and then you get to the fact that almost all of our projects are divided into teams. When you get to the bottom of that hierarchy of leadership, we need about a quarter of our citizen scientists to be involved in leadership at the project, program, and team levels. And so having those 70 certified citizen scientists is very, very valuable to us. And education is extremely valuable to us. And during the past year, we have implemented a new class on leadership in citizen science to help train leaders. And presently, we have under development and another class involving research design and statistical analysis and research methods that will be offered in the near future that also will help train citizen scientists. So let's take a look at some of our projects. And first of all, our biodiversity projects, there are 7 of them. They involve long-term monitoring in almost every instance. They use fixed transects. The data goes to a variety of sources, such as the North American Butterfly Association, the Audubon Society, the National Phenology Network, various universities, and a lot of the data, virtually all of it, is retained in-house by the Field Institute for analysis locally. Some of those projects have unique implications for heat. Many of them will require years of continued data gathering in order to have statistically reliable results, but some of our projects already are bearing fruit. And one of those is our tortoise project, which Melanie had mentioned. It's a 4-year grant-funded initiative. It involves approximately 20 tortoises that are telemetered and monitored basically on a monthly basis. It has generated significant external interest. We've had politicians, members of the Conservancy Board, students from Arizona State University and Scottsdale Community College, representatives of the Navajo Nation, and participating in these tortoise surveys. We've also had the opportunity to take news of what we're doing to the public through our Mustang Library series and by making a presentation at the Arizona Department of Game and Fish. So that is a project that does have relevant research results that we'll be looking at today. Another project that will be featured today that Melanie mentioned is our ecological restoration project. Past research in that project involved closed roads and trails. Those research projects are wrapped up. There were papers published regarding both of them that in the collaborative model of citizen science also involved citizen sciences participating in that academic work. At the current time, we have ongoing research with BioCrust and with the RestoreNet program. The photo on the right is a picture of setting up our RestoreNet plots about 1.5 years ago up in the Northeast Preserve. Basically, RestoreNet is a project sponsored by the United States Geological Survey with over 20 partners, various government entities, nonprofits, and academic institutions where they're exploring a variety of ways to restore desert habitats in the southwest of the United States. The current project that we are very, very involved with is the Diamond Fire Scar that we have begun rehabbing, and this is a classic example of collaborative citizen science in action, where immediately after the fire had subsided, there were citizen scientists working with other scientists to assess the situation and then to develop a restoration plan, and a great deal of work has been done under that plan. You'll be seeing what is going on there later. It has involved very much one of our wonderful science partners, Scottsdale Community College, and also high school students in the Living Lab program. So that's going to be a wonderful and successful project. Another project that we are not featuring directly today, but that is extremely relevant to fire and heat in the preserve, is our invasive plant project. And Melanie had given some of the data regarding that project. We've had two major research projects with buffalo grass and fountain grass. Through those projects, we determined that the most cost-effective way to deal with infestations of those invasives is to apply herbicides. And so within the citizen science program, we have 10 stewards who now have been certified and trained by the state to apply herbicides. The photo on the right is a field of buffalo grass that was treated a couple years ago in the South Preserve. And you can kind of get a feel for the magnitude of that when you look at the white object in the background of the picture, which is one of our herbicide applicators on the other side of the infestation. And of course, the plants are blue because we place a colorant in the herbicide so we can determine which plants we have sprayed. 2 grants have been obtained by the city of Scottsdale from the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management, each in the range of $190,000, that have allowed us to bring in, that has allowed the city to bring in contractors to also work with treating fields of invasive plants. So it's really become a project where we are working collaboratively with these contractors and with the city to treat as many acres as possible. At this time, I'm going to do a little segue to talk about plants that we're most concerned about, because during the panel discussion, these plants will be mentioned. So I wanted those of you who are attending this symposium who may not have a lot of familiarity with them to recognize them. Buffalo grass is one that is very difficult to deal with because it replicates itself not only through airborne seeds, but also through rhizomes underground. So it takes years of repeated herbicide treatments to deal with this particular invasive. You will see it along roadways. It's not really a plant that you find a lot in neighborhoods. Fountain grass is an ornamental that you do find in neighborhoods. You also find it growing along roadways, and it is easier to deal with than buffalo grass because it only replicates itself through airborne seeds. And then finally, the new kid on the block is glowed chamomile. And frankly, this is spreading throughout the valley toward the east, and land use managers are having difficulty coming up with a plan to deal with it. And so that's going to be a future problem that we will deal with in the future. As Melanie indicated, we have treated 2,700 acres of invasive plants within the preserve, and 23,000 acres have been surveyed. Well, the preserve is over 30,000 acres in extent. So what about the remaining 7,000 plus acres? Well, as citizen scientists, we're working with that. We have a very robust program of technical support. And as Melody had mentioned, at this time, we're working on developing drone technology to both survey and perhaps spray invasive plant infestations in the future. We have developed a number of apps that are used by our research projects. So for example, the Tortoise Project, which we'll be hearing from today, uses an app to help manage their data. The restoration people who are working with the Diamond Fire Project and the attendant research out there are using an app that we've developed to help manage that data. The invasive plant people use an app that we have developed. And a picture of that app is on this particular slide. It involves colored entries that denote various types of invasive plants, and it allows us to record a lot of information about plants in place where they are found, and then to track our treatments with those plants so we know how often and how effective those treatments are. So those are 3 of a number of apps that have been developed by the citizen scientists in our program. We have a very active ArcGIS mapping program. During the past year, 8 citizen scientists were trained to create these types of online maps, and they are doing so. We also have massive data management challenges. As Melanie mentioned, our, our data came in from last fall's deployment of 30 wildlife cameras. And what that resulted in was approximately 600,000 video files and photos that have now been analyzed. And the next data from the current deployment of 60 cameras is coming in. So we'll be dealing with that challenge. So as chair of the Citizen Science Program, I just want to express my thanks to the Parsons Institute and to the Conservancy for the opportunities that we have to participate as citizen scientists. It really is a world-class program, and we are provided opportunities that I think we could obtain nowhere else. And of course, this is tremendously important work as we gather data in order to have an impact on the future management of the preserve. So, Melanie, thank you for this opportunity to participate, and I will pass this back to you.
Thank you, Doug, for everything that you do and all of our citizen scientists.